Middies are making a concerned effort here to try to get the ball inside. They're just having some trouble with this Indian defense.
Shot put up by Jaden Jackson, no good. The rebound to Caleb Price, and here comes Fairfield with 5:47 to play here in this opening quarter. 1-0's your score. Ricks plays Price, and we got a holding call inside.
First time we both got to see these teams play, Jeff, and probably take us a little while to get our feet wet to be able to figure out who we like, who we don't like. We did get to see East and Princeton the other night, two pretty good teams, and East did what they do, and they run that motion offense. We'll see if Fairfield doesn't kind of remind us of them.
Rob Thompson comes into the ball game from Middletown, 6 foot tall, 170 pounds. Double team on the ball handler. Ricks gets it away.
Running a trap right now in the half court.
Ricks stuck inside the free throw line, lost the handle. It's bobbled around, saved initially, and we've got a reach-in call.
Yeah, good defense right there by the Middies, forcing pressure. Looked like they were doubling pretty much any time there was a screen, trying to get a half-court trap. And as usual, the goal is to try to produce a turnover, and they did just there.
Fouls on Colin Singer. That's his first, the team's first. 1-0 still to score here in the opening minutes of this one. Smith is a charge. Nice defense here by the big man.
Refs love nothing more than to call that charge, man. And I'll tell you what, that's like the strikeout call for baseball umpires.
The ball handler was Taiwan Hall. He picks up his first, and back the other way we go. Token full court pressure, and now quickly broken off. Cortland Smith will get a touch. And Sawai Ellis, the team's quarterback during the fall. He gives it up, he gets it back, he drops it off. Here's the kick out. Here's three off the right wing. No good for Caleb Price.
Good ball movement, though.
One shot and out with 4:45 left to play here in this opening quarter. Still 1-0. We have yet to see a field goal here in this one. Thompson gets his first touch. Mumford has it on the floor and gives it up for Taiwan Hall, up high on the right point. A little hesitation, a dribble drive in, and this time it's a blocking call on Smith.
I think
no, it's a charge.
Yeah, they went with the referee that was up by the Fairfield bench. The guy on the baseline did call a half-hearted block there, which kind of threw us through a loop. But nonetheless, again, another charge, and I think that was the right call.
That's already 14 fouls against the visiting Middies, who come in with a record of 1-1. Into the ball game for the first time is, well, actually Singer really getting his first touch, and then this one knocked away.
Middies must be, they must be in their game plan to have half-court pressure all night long. We'll see if that continues through the second half, but so far early in this game, they've put on, traps and pressuring the ball in the half court.
Kelvin Shaley into the ball game for the Middies. Here's Ellis. Stopped on penetration, gives it up. Shot put up, and one! Caleb Price to the rack. He'll go to the line for an old-fashioned three-point try.
That he will. And the Middies kind of a little bit of a breakdown right there on defense. Obviously, you're in a tough spot in a defensive position right there, but the goal is to try to cut that man off. Don't let him get to the basket and make him hit that guy on the outside and force him to hit a three.
Free throw is up and good. The old-fashioned three applies. 4-0 here. I think this was football to a certain extent. We're seeing a shutout here in the opening minutes. Three on the other end, and as soon as we said the shutout, they break it there with a three by Rob Thompson. Pressure, quickly broken. Price dumps it inside.
Got a man underneath, missed him.
Singer had a touch, and now Ricks will handle. Checked by Kelvin Shaley. Gets a high screen, and now into the lane. I think they're going to bail him out on a foul call.
Ricks does a good job of driving the basketball so far. He hadn't had any success with putting it through the hole yet, but at the end of the day, if you continue to put pressure on the defense, you're either going to find yourselves one of two things. You're going to get open layups, or you're going to find yourself at the line. And here soon, the Indians will find themselves at the line because they might be in the bonus for what seems to be almost the entire first half here soon.
They say 3 fouls there. Now, they put 15 up on the board, but that's not Rob Thompson, who came in as a defensive replacement. And we head the other way. So 3:15 left to play in the opening quarter. 16 fouls already for the Middies, and we're not even through the first quarter.
Yeah, I mean, we're halfway through the first quarter, if that. I mean, I think if you're Fairfield, you have to keep that in mind and continue to drive the ball to the basket and try to get yourself in the bonus.
Thompson handles, gives it on up. Jaden Jackson holds on to it.
Got to blow the whistle if you're
and
the
now
ref.
It's a held ball. Colin Singer came in and tried to wrestle it away, and then I don't know if he got poked in the eye, but he's kind of bent over, as you can see on the screen here.
Yeah, that's what happened. I think he got poked in the eye, and he stood there pretty, what I thought was a relatively long time, and I thought they were going to blow the play dead, but they decided to let it continue on, and a jump ball was the call, and the possession favors the Indians of Fairfield.
With 3:03 left to play here in this opening quarter. Glad to have you along for week number 3 of the high school basketball season. Along with Trace Fowler, I'm Geoff Kim. We thank you for joining us here on Chatterbox Live, the game of the week. Zavian Ricks gives it up. Deshaun Krim into the ball game, plays it back, and it's a double team on the ball handler. Ricks plays it back for Krim, low on the right, one-on-one, goes to the rack.
Another good bucket. Fairfield really has gotten all their points in the interior.
Krim averaging just under 11 points a ball game. 6-3 in favor of the home team. Here's a straight-on 3, no good this time, and the rebound to Cortland Smith. And Fairfield wants to run. Krim.
Good pass.
Oh, here's a wide-open 3 for Ellis. Baseline left, no good. The backside board for Baker. To the lane. It's Price. He missed. And we have a stoppage here as we have a tie-up down on the block.
The Middies, I think that they've settled for a few threes, kind of without moving the ball a whole lot. I like the concept that they had at the very beginning of this game of trying to get the ball inside either to Mumford or to whoever one of their guards. Fairfield runs a very guard-heavy offense, and they are going to try to go back inside again.
Plays into Mumford, draws the double down on the block. Nice turnaround, puts it up, no good. Everything but the bucket.
Yeah.
And Cortland Smith the rebound for Fairfield. Plays Ellis across the timeline. Here's a wide open 3 off the right wing. Off the mark for Krim. But Fairfield gets it back, and Smith has been absolutely active. Leading rebounder in the GMC so far in this young season. Krim has the ball. He breaks the 5-second call barely. Here's Ellis, a little stop and go. Tosses to the far side. Baker. They drop it down low. Shot put up, no good for Price.
Yeah, this is.
Meanwhile, on the other end, Kelvin Shaley gets his first bucket of the night.
I was going to say, Jeff, it's a little sloppy out here right now, trying to figure out what pace each team's trying to play at. Middies clearly are just going to put defensive pressure on these Indians all night long. The question is if they can break these press.
We'll see if they play for a final shot here.
I don't know if the Middies will let them do that.
Krim into the lane, and he walked. Might have had some assistance getting steps, but he walked nonetheless.
Yeah, it was one of those situations where perhaps he did get nudged or bumped a little bit, but not enough to draw the foul. And ultimately it took one extra step, and it caused a turnover. And as you just mentioned, will they take the last shot? Will they won't? The question now is, will the Middies take the last shot? And I think they have to be thrilled. They're only down by a point right now. And I think, again, you need to try to get the ball back down inside to the block.
Taiwan Hall plays it inside, and a nice move down on the baseline for Jaden Jackson.
It's a good drive, and next thing you know, the Middies are in the lead.
First lead of the ball game. First exchange of the lead here in this contest with 10 seconds to play here in this first quarter. Here's a 3 off the left wing. It's an air ball. Rebound by Smith. Put back is good. And time has run out here in the fast-moving first quarter. Your score after one period here in Fairfield, the Indians have a lead over the Middies 8-7. This is the game of the week here on Chatterbox Live. Just about ready to start this second quarter here in Fairfield. Along with Trace Fowler, I'm Geoff Kim. Thanks for joining us here for the game of the week here on Chatterbox Live. Trace, as we had exited the first quarter, you had mentioned a little bit of sloppy play, and we saw something similar a week ago at Lakota East, though there was a little bit more scoring initially there by Princeton, and then Lakota East just found a rhythm. Of course, they had the best scorer in the league in Nate Johnson, and his 34 points that night. He got it rolling late in the first quarter, and the team fed off of him. Right now, we're not seeing that or any momentum by either team. The closest thing we're seeing to momentum right now is Cortland Smith on the rebounds and the points.
Yeah, I think that ultimately the Middies are trying to muddy up the water a little bit on the defensive end. You know, I think that it's one thing to try to play good defense and force a team into a bad shot. It's another concept to try to force turnovers. And clearly the Middies are just trying to force turnovers and get in, you know, whether they're trapping screens or they're taking just the traditional half-court trap. So far the Indians, you know, if they were to actually look up, they're going to have open looks at some point tonight. You know, I'm not saying that the Middies half-court defense isn't great, but what I am saying is I've seen some open lanes to be able to look up and make clean passes. Oftentimes to beat a press or a zone, quick, clean passes is the answer. It's not dribbling and trying to beat double teams. And we'll see if the Indians don't decide to try to utilize the pass a little more versus the dribble when trying to break that. For the Middies, and I'm not going to try to harp on this too long. I've said it once, I'll say it again. Get the ball inside.
Jaden Jackson pumps three, right wing, no good. Rebound, putback is no good for Thompson, and the ball rattles out of bounds.
As a
It'll stay up front.
Situation there where, you know, you bring the ball down, you have the entire right side of the glass open there. Use the basketball hoop that's there to your advantage and use that as an extra defender against the block. He's got a man right there, and he missed him.
Ball be thrown in. Hall gets a touch, plays it back up on high. Rob Thompson, and he threw it away. Jaden Jackson received it and then wanted to pass it right back, and no one was home. 8-7 here. Just a few seconds gone by here in this quick-moving ball game here in the second quarter. Token pressure coming on up. Broken by Krim. There's a jumper right at the elbow, no good. Deshaun Simpkins, a star wide receiver on the team, into the ball game. Taiwan Hall up high on the right point. Well, this is a defensive matchup to be sure, in one way or another, depending upon your point of view.
That's putting it nicely so far.
Looks like we had some contact down on the block away from the ball.
Then they dragged his pivot foot when he went to make the entrance pass, and the guy near the baseline here, he had a travel. So another turnover here, and we'll see. Again, I expect them to settle down here at some point and play a little bit of cleaner basketball, but this can happen. Early in the season, conference game, you know, perhaps it's not going to be as clean as you like, but the Indians need to realize that when they break this press, the open side is the area in which it didn't come from.
Singer draws a double team, gives it on up. Smith saves it. Krim has it up high on the right point. Thought initially about three, instead will back off on the offense. With 6:47 left to go until halftime, and he's guilty of steps.
That he is. But what I mentioned there just a second ago is the backside pass is always open when you're trying to break the press. When the ball gets transferred to you in the middle of the zone or the press or whatever you'd like to call it, you need to kick it the opposite way. So far tonight, it's been, you know, that it gets passed back in the same direction it came from, and ultimately that's not the way in which you can break a zone effectively. And going to have our first time out of the game.
And it's charged to Middletown. So with 6:35 left to play here in this first half, it's 8-7 in favor of the home team, Fairfield. And I want to tell you that 34-year-old DJ Wyrick is in his first year with the program. He spent 2 years working under Brad Brunell as a grad assistant over at Wright State, and the next 5 in various roles under Billy Donlin over at Wright State. Wyrick then made the move into prep coaching over at Vandalia Butler. The Aviators were 2-21 the year before he came in.
Wild.
Now his first year with the program, 4-19. So it's like, hey, at least you have some room for improvement in the 2014-15 season. From there, Aviators improved to 13-11. 19-4, and then last year, or last season I should say, 21-3. So without even blinking, Vandalia Butler up in the GWAC became a regional power.
Yeah, that's incredibly impressive, to be quite frank with you. When we were looking up just the kind of the background there, it's an impressive background. The Fairfield Indians got, a blessing, if you will, to be able to get a guy by the caliber of Wyrick and what he's done.
Mumford checked by Singer. I think it's a little reach around there by Singer.
Interesting call, huh? Not sure I've ever seen that call made on a defensive foul. Usually they'll call that on a hook for the offensive player and call an offensive foul, but nonetheless, here we are.
It is interesting.
Good pass.
Mumford tries to finish, no good. The rebound, here's a wraparound. Back from Mumford, high off the window and scores.
It's a good pass, good interior passing. I thought Mumford perhaps drew a foul on the first attempt there, but got it back and scored regardless.
Third lead change of the ball game with 6 minutes to play in this half, 9-8. Mumford gets his first bucket, averaging about 11.5 a ball game, and we have steps. So unforced turnovers have been the name of the game, and you think about the game that we saw back on Friday night where we actually saw fluid motion and offensive execution. We're seeing anything but that right now through the first, I don't know. I'm trying to do some quick math here on this 10-plus minutes.
Yeah, it's been tough. It's been a tough basketball game from a fundamental standpoint so far, but I think some of that you can give credit to the Middies. They are pressing. Last thing you want to do as a ball handler, though, is cross that half-court line and pick it up right in the corner. That's exactly what the defense wants you to do, and that's what the Indians did there on their last possession. But, again, I fully expect both of these clubs to go into halftime and make some adjustments, and perhaps you'll see some better basketball here in the second half. But we still got 5 minutes left in the first, and perhaps we can put some more points on the board.
Thompson gets the entry, gives it back to the trigger, Taiwan Hall. There's a corner three off the mark. The rebound to Deshaun Krim for Fairfield. In traffic. Croppen Baker gets a touch and now tosses to the near side, gets it back. Krim in between the rings with 5:23 to play here in this half. Fairfield behind in this one, 9-8. Zavian Ricks trying to get started here, has not really. He's taking it right to the well, and he's guilty of steps.
Wow.
He thought he had the and one. He's a little surprised, but he headed the other way.
Yeah, I'm not sure about that. I'm not sure I seen the travel, and I know he got bumped, so perhaps that was the cause for the extra steps. But, again, still 9-8, and kind of just seems like it's hanging in the balance here for somebody to make a little bit of a run.
David Brown has the ball. You see him, 6 foot tall, 172-pound junior. They rotate around Will Williams into this ball game, too. Here's Mumford pumping from the elbow, in and out, halfway down the well, and it came back out.
My goodness.
You had a euphemism, or actually a saying last week about the lid on the rim, and I think that applies here tonight.
It seems that way on both ends. Out at East, it seemed as if there was a lid on one side of the floor, not on the other, but tonight, my goodness. He does a great job driving the basketball. And I tell you, he got rewarded for it finally. It seemed as if he's done that multiple times tonight, and he's either gotten bumped, not gotten the call, but that time he did draw the foul, and he's going to head to the line for two.
Taiwan Hall picks up his second. That's 17 fouls for Middletown. And remember, just that fast, about 4.5 minutes into the ball game, they had 6 that fast. So they've clamped down here playing defensive basketball. So Ricks to the line, got the first. Shooting just under 87% at the charity stripe this year, coming in 13 of 15 at the stripe. One of the leading scorers in the GMC this year, 21.3 points a contest so far.
Fairfield, by the way, first gym that I can remember to get the bowl. It seems as if everybody's adopted that now. But the Indians of Fairfield had the bowl. Best player I ever saw, I'll get to that in a moment, here in this gym.
No kidding.
Best high school player I ever saw, played in this gym pretty much exclusively. Didn't play for the Indians, though.
Oh, yeah, turnover the other way, and a fourth lead change, by the way, 10-9 Fairfield. And a steal.
Uh-oh.
Up the floor. Taiwan Hall scores. In transition, and a fifth lead change to make it 11-10. and what looks like token pressure, and it's quickly broken. Ricks, and we got a foul. Thompson picks up the personal. That's the team's 8th. Ricks back at the stripe. Knocked home his first 2. He got them again. Again, we had told you coming on in. Shooting just about 87% at the stripe this year, and then he's made all 3 of his attempts so far. Caleb Price checks out. We see the reemergence of Cortland Smith. And Smith has been a bully on the boards, averaging just about 10 boards a game. Meanwhile, his running mate Ricks gets them both.
Ricks has a good-looking stroke from the line, doesn't he?
Yes, he does. And another lead change, by the way, a 12-11, and a turnover back the other way. Here's Ricks, plays Smith, curl cut in the lane.
Pass.
Oh, here's Singer for 3 off the mark.
It's a good pass, though. That's the offense they need to start having at the offensive end and in order to have some success.
Shaley gets a touch, gives it up to Taiwan Hall, and tosses it out to the far side. Mumford gets it, top of the key. Play high-low to the big man, gets it back. Dribble drive coming off the wing. Oh, a nice little curl in the lane, and he pumps the 12-footer.
Good job of avoiding the charge as well there. There was a man set up to take a charge, but nice good jump stop to get around him, and Middies are starting to make a little bit of a run.
Rob Thompson has 5 points off the bench, averaging just about 1.5 points a contest, and another lead change, 13-12. Ricks tries the jumper in the lane, no good, and back the other way they come. Here comes Middletown, and the ball's batted away out of bounds. It'll go. Wow, it's last touch by Middletown. I thought it was going to stay up front for a second, but it belongs to Fairfield.
It was a good pass by Kevin Shealy right there, though. I mean, he made a good push up the court, and unfortunately it wasn't handled well enough to turn into a basket. But, again, just kind of seems as if as soon as we start to get a little bit of flow to this game, it quickly turns into that.
Prim throws it away, intended for Sawai Ellis. It's kind of funny to think about Sawai Ellis being on the receiving end of a pass.
Yeah, he's on the opposite end of a lot of passes in the fall, and I know that the season probably didn't end in the way in which they wanted to, but they had one hell of a season at the end of the day. You can't fault them for falling to the team that's really run this league for quite some time in Coleraine, but man, it was what a game we got to call here. Week 10 of the OHSA football season.
Air ball, and back the other way comes Fairfield. Deshaun Prim into the lane, and we've got a foul. 13-12 with 2:02 left to play here in this first half. Shaley picks up the personal. We'll see if the shooter can make it a 2-possession ball game, or at least a long one. Prim, as we had mentioned, scoring just about 11 points a ball game. He is coming into the ball game just under a 42% shooter at the line. Not a lot of opportunities. He makes 1 of 2. He gets knocked to the floor, but it's saved by Smith. Ricks gets a touch, and now Singer returns it up on high for Ricks. See, they'll run some clock here. Tied at 13.
That defensive rebound right there, I should say offensive rebound by the Indians, kind of reminded me of a football game where you see like one team have 5 or 6 guys that try to recover a fumble, and it seemed as if the one guy from the opposite team came up with it.
Here's Krim, a long 3 off the back iron, no good. Chased down by Fairfield.
It's starting to turn into a storyline right now. Can the Middies?
Singer gave it up, and it's a 2-on-1 break the other way. To the rack. Will Williams with the deuce.
But finish my point. The Middies are going to have to start pulling down some of these defensive rebounds. They're giving the Indians far too many extra possessions by not being able to pull down a defensive rebound.
Singer plays Smith. Free throw line, high-low. Shot put up, no good underneath the bucket. And back the other way. Here's a drive to the rack. Left-hand shot. Jaden Jackson, no good. And Fairfield wants to run on a 3-on-2. The stop, the pop, the 3 is short. And the recovery by Ricks. And he threw it away. into the forecourt. Here's Mumford to the rack.
My goodness.
We have a timeout. I sure hope we have a timeout.
Wow, Geoff. I mean, have you ever seen much back and forth basketball in your life that hasn't produced a whole lot?
No, it's a lot of work for very little payoff, but we finally get one here on the bucket by Mumford on the timeout. 17-13 your score. Middletown, it leads by 4. I believe this is the biggest lead of the ball game. That's how close this game has been so far.
That it has. Hasn't been a lot of scoring, so it's been tough to pull ahead for either side, but so far, Mumford, I think the guy that stands out for me for the Middies, and then Ricks for obvious reasons, perhaps for the Indians. Both seem very agile, good athletes, trying to make dribble drives to get in the lane and score the basketball. The question for me at the end of the day is going to come down to which team can kind of settle down here and run a little bit of offense, be patient. I know the Middies are pressuring you from the Indian standpoint, but at the end of the day, there are open players. You just got to take your time, look up. You can kind of get sped up a little bit when you have somebody pressing you. The Indians have done that. If they can calm down and make crisp passes, they're going to have a lot of success against this defense.
Ricks has the ball out of the timeout. Tosses Smith, now Singer. Rolling around the arc to the right. Checked well by Jaden Jackson. Ricks once more with 23 seconds left to go here in this first half. Singer back over for Ricks, top of the key, puts it on the floor, goes to the well, and a foul. Well, I think that's one way to score as with 16.6 seconds left to play here in this first half. That's 10 team fouls against Middletown.
It'd be interesting to see if the Middies decide to try to stop Ricks from driving right. He's done that pretty much exclusively tonight. Not saying he can't drive left, but oftentimes at this level especially, you're going to have a dominant hand in a way in which you prefer to go. Easier said than done to stop somebody from doing it, but I think at some point the Middies need to try to stop Ricks from going right, force him to go left, and use his offhand.
Ricks makes the first, eyeballs the second, and he makes that one as well. 17-15 with 16.6 seconds left to play here in this first half. Ricks will take a seat on the bench, obviously to get rest here going into halftime. And you have to imagine that Middletown will play for a final shot up by 2, 17-15. Caleb Price will pick up the ball handler at half court. Rob Thompson. And now Mumford straight on from 18.
Great job by Mumford right there, realizing his man's playing soft. He's giving him the jump shot, took it, and that'll end the half.
And it will. 20-15. This is the biggest lead of the ball game at 5 points. Actually, beg your pardon, 19-15. They put the 3 off the board and put the 2 in its place to make the score correct, and we're all right here over in Fairfield. We'll take a timeout. This is the game of the week here on Chatterbox Live. We're here at the half, 19-15 in favor of Middletown, along with Trace Fowler. I'm Geoff Kim. Thanks for joining us here for the game of the week here on Chatterbox Live. Let's take a look at some of those first half numbers. And, Trace, you might have had your first senior moment in front of me here as far
Absolutely,
as I can tell
man.
you.
Well, I tell you, sometimes you get back here and you realize, for those that don't know, you're trying to run a little bit of the operations, and you look over and you one of your cameras is sitting straight down. I was like, well, what's going on there? But nonetheless, let's run through those second half numbers.
Sure. Leading scorer here for Middletown is Jordan Mumford with 6 points. 5 points in the book for Rob Thompson off the bench. Kevin Shaley and Jaden Jackson, as well as Jaden Burks, each have 2 apiece. Middletown shot 9 of 21 from the floor in the first half for just under 43%. They shot 1 of 5 from behind the three-point line at 20% and got, no attempts at the charity stripe. Can't say the same about Fairfield. We'll get to that in just a second. Sawai Ellis, speaking of, 0 for 2 from the floor, but he's got 6 points. Beg your pardon, Zavian Ricks has 6 points, all at the charity stripe. Scoring here, 6 points for Ricks, 3 points apiece for Price, as well as Deshaun Krim and Cortland Smith. 3 for 17 Fairfield was from the floor for 17.5%. They were 0 for 7 from behind the three-point line and 9 of 11 at the charity stripe for 82%. I had an old partner that once used to tell me that free throws don't win every game. They just win the close ones. So if this comes down to free throws, then we might see something here. But right now, Fairfield's down by 4, and they can't get anything outside the free throw line at this point.
Yeah, I think it's the way that this game has gone so far. And I will say this, it's a huge advantage, obviously, when it gets down late in the games to have somebody like Ricks that it's 87+% from the line. Question is can you get him the ball, though, when it's in those situations to be able to make sure he's at the line shooting the free throws. I look quickly down at the game stats. There's a reason that it's still a close game. Not a whole lot of scoring, but the other end, a lot of, we have 18 turnovers. The question is which team perhaps will clean that up a little bit here in the second half, and I think that really is going to be the difference in the game.
So we're just about a minute away from getting started here in the second half, 19-15. Other games going on right now as we speak. Hamilton at Sycamore, Mason's at Lakota East tonight, and of course we saw them last Friday, and I don't know how anybody can stop Nate Johnson. He had 34 a week ago against Princeton, and he is averaging a league best 30 points a ball game. I know it's early. That's still impressive, 30 points no matter how you cut it. Yeah,
I mean, he's been the best player we've been able to see so far this year, and I was talking to the guys just the other day. I'm not privileged enough to know if he has offers or doesn't have offers, but at the end of the day, if that kid can't go and play Division I basketball, I don't know who can, because he not only is he well-rounded, and I feel like he's a good player, he's physical. He's very strong. He's someone that you think could translate at the next level, but we'll get into best player I ever saw in this gym, O.J. Mayo.
Oh.
Does that ring a bell?
Yes, it does. As we get back underway, Fairfield will go left to right, and away we go. 19-15 in favor of Middletown. Ricks has the ball. Center jump circle. Checked there by Dalian Blake. Now Smith gets a touch between the rings and tosses to the far side. Caleb Price got a touch and now kicks it out. Here's a three. No good out of far wing, but Fairfield retains possession. Here's Smith stuck down on the block. Diagonal pass back out. And Singer fires three off the left wing. This one behind the glass. And this one will go the other way off the face of Smith.
It was, and I don't think it was anything intentional. Will Williams just brought the rebound down and was trying to get rid of it, make sure that he didn't fall out of bounds with it. Sometimes in basketball that happens, and away we go.
Dalian Blake up high on the right. Jordan Mumford now sets the high screen. Here's the high-low. Shot put up and good for Jaden Jackson.
Almost seems that's the way this game's gone. I don't believe that's the intended purpose of that pass right there. It almost seems like he lost it. He was going for the handoff. Nonetheless, it was an interior feed for the score.
Looked like Smith had gotten mugged, and then he gets the ball taken away from him by Jackson. Up into the forecourt with a pass to Taiwan Hall. Low on the left.
That's
nice
gotta be something.
Wraparound. Shot put up, no good. Rebound put back is good for Hall.
My goodness. I thought he needed a passport for as far as he traveled there on that call, but nonetheless, here we go.
Well, we saw Smith mugged down by Mumford down on the block on the other side.
Maybe the refs want to see some scoring as well. What do you think about that?
I think so. Let him play. 23-15. Just about a minute and a half gone by here in the second half. At the elbow is Price. The kick out. Singer. Corner three. This time it's short. The backside board by Price. Price and saves it for Ricks. In between the lines, puts it up and one. So Ricks gets his first field goal of the night.
Again, Ricks gets inside the lane, finds a way to utilize his body to his advantage, draws the foul and the hoop.
Goes to the line, fires it up, and he has 9 tonight on 7 of 7 shooting at the charity stripe. Just 2 minutes gone by here in this third. Fairfield breaks the drought. And here comes Middletown back once more. They look inside for Jackson. Puts it up. No good this time. The rebound to Price. Here comes Fairfield with Ricks. Between the rings. Singer gets a touch. They look inside. Smith stuck on the elbow, draws a double. Singer, corner three. This time he knocks it down.
Fine. He's had a couple looks there from the corner. Hadn't had any success yet. Finally got one to go down.
His first points of the night. 23-21. One possession and out on one shot. Singer gets the loose ball. Ricks with a touch. Propping Baker. And now plays to Smith. They saw the same offensive set. This time the corner three. And knock it down! So back-to-back threes, this time for Ricks.
That's the spot for the Indians, is go to the corner and let it rip.
12, which is a game high for Fairfield. They've retaken the lead. Dalian Blake up high, looking inside for Mumford. He has it stolen away by Smith. Ricks between the rings, draws individual coverage by Blake. Can't roll around him. He's got the hot hand right now. Tosses Singer right in front of his own bench. Ricks goes to Price, and now here's a baseline three on the near side. No good this time for Kroppenbaker. And here comes Middletown. 1 point ball game. Halfway through this third quarter. Trace, if nothing else, the defensive presence for both teams have improved as far as a lack of mistakes.
Yeah, and I think the offense has as well. That was a situation right there where they could have forced something right there, the Middies did, but they decided to pull it out.
Taiwan Hall down on the block. Lost the handle on the baseline.
But ultimately decided to pull it out and try to run some offense there, and didn't work out for him. But those are the type of decisions that need to be made in order for the Middies to start having a little more success on the offensive end, in my opinion.
Shaley back into the ball game. Ricks, a lot of dribbling, looking for the high screen. Finally gets one from Smith. Now gives it for Smith, and it's away from him, out of bounds, and it's an unforced turnover.
Yeah, there's a little bit of lackadaisical pass, perhaps, but nonetheless, forced, unforced, it's tough to say. I think that the Middies' pressure ultimately will wear on you, and not just physically but mentally. Over the course of the game, it just becomes to where, even if they aren't in front of you, even if they aren't pressuring you, you almost feel like you're pressured because you've had that all night.
Hall has the ball up in the front court. He pumps 18. A high arcing shot, no good. Singer the rebound.
Great rebound right there by Singer.
He'll take it up the floor himself. Smith on the secondary. Stopped off inside the arc, and now they'll reset. 2:55 left to play in this third. 24-23. Drive Ricks to the rack. Bucket and one coming up.
Again, if you're the Middies, you cannot let Ricks drive right. You just can't. You forced him all night long to try to make a decision going one way or the other, and that was a situation where perhaps it was just a little bit of miscommunication from the Middies' perspective, but ultimately, most times, good team defense forces the guy to go middle, does not force the guy to go backside towards the baseline because you don't have any help there. That time it almost seemed as if there was a little bit of a breakdown because not only did he give him the baseline, but he was also giving him his right hand, which is obviously his dominant hand.
Ricks to the line, he makes 15 in the book for Zavian Ricks. 27-23.
Even though it's only a 4-point game here, it seems a little bit of a danger zone for the Middies.
Mumford, top of the key, checked by Smith, dumps it on low for Jackson, puts it up. Oh, around the rim and out.
What a great interior pass right there. Good post pass and a great job right there by sealing your man. And just got to finish, though. Just got to finish. I know it was close, but my goodness, you're in a great spot there to get the and one.
Well, the foul's starting to pick up here. Jackson to the line, gets the first.
See if the Middies don't decide to go full court pressure here on a make.
He gets them both. Jackson has 6. No full court pressure. In fact, just individual pressure being picked up at half court. Ricks tosses near side. Price curl cuts to the free throw line. Returns it up on high, Baker. Back to Ricks, sideline left, puts it on the floor, dribbles into the lane, pops 12 feet. Boy, that is smooth.
That was nice. I'll tell you, at some point here, can't let one man beat you. We talked about that last week with East versus Princeton, and it almost seems as if Nate Johnson was having, however he wanted it out there on the floor. You just can't let that happen.
Mumford around the arc, pumps 18, and an equally as good shot there by the leading scorer for the Middies.
Mumford's got a good-looking stroke there and has proven he can hit that mid-range jump shot.
Averaging 11.5 a ball game. He's got 8 tonight. Dribble and drive. Baker to the well. He goes.
I'm a little confused right now just based off the fact that the Middies almost look like they're trying to force them to go baseline, but there's no help there. There's absolutely no help on that baseline, and they've given up a couple dribble drive scores.
Beg your pardon, Krim, not Baker, 31-27. Dalian Blake passes it on out. Shots put up, no good. The rebound to Shaley. He tries to put it back, and that one is blocked away from him. Baker. Here's Smith. Zavian Ricks thought about the three, now tries to penetrate. Shaley picks him up into the forecourt. Gives it up off the screen from Smith. Pumps three, left wing in, around the rim and out. Dahlia Blake,
pass.
High-low, Mumford lost the handle, but saved by Thompson. Pumps the jumper, no good. And a 3-on-1 for Fairfield. Let's see if they wait. No, Smith will go for the baseline. Takes it right to the rack. And one. Fouls on Jackson.
Big turn of events right there in this basketball game. You go from one end that would look to be perhaps an easy lay-in. Mumford just couldn't come with the handle on the interior pass. Turn that around. Easy 3-on-1 fast break, and it turns into an and one here for the Indians. And if they can convert, it will be the largest lead of the game.
So Smith comes to the stripe. He'd come in as a 75% shooter at the stripe. He gets the bonus. (34-27). Trace, as you mentioned, the biggest lead of the ball game, and see if Middletown plays for a final shot. Jackson pumps 12, no good. And we'll see if Fairfield plays for a final shot.
I'd be shocked if they didn't.
Ricks has it across the timeline. Checked by Taiwan Hall.
And again, you're forcing him almost defensively to go right. You got to switch that around.
5 on the game clock. He'll pump 3, right wing, knock it down. And time has run out here in this third quarter, and Fairfield has opened up a 10-point lead, 37-27. How about Ricks?
He's finding a way, and you can tell he's starting to feel like he's got the touch. See a couple balls go through the hoop, and next thing you know, those shooters get their confidence back just like that. Really was a story of the third quarter.
We'll take a timeout right here. Through 3, Fairfield leads it over Middletown, 37-27. This is the game of the week here on Chatterbox Live. Ready to start the fourth quarter here in Fairfield. Indians have a lead over the Middies, 37-27. Along with Trace Fowler, I'm Geoff Kim. Glad to have you along here on Chatterbox Live, the game of the week. And finally, we see some scoring. And after no field goals through the first 2 quarters for Zavian Ricks, well, he went off in the third. He got 14 points. He's got 20 for the game.
Yeah, he was a story of the third period for sure. And it'll be interesting to see what he decides to do and what they decide to do from the defensive side for the Middies, because it seems as if they were forcing him to do what his strength is, which is drive right.
Blake has the ball, top of the key, rolls to the left, and a little foul on the near side. A holding call on the left. Ball tapped out of bounds on the near sideline. 7:44 left till the end of the game. 37-27 here in this one. Here's the entry. Mumford, jump step in the lane, shoots over Smith, no good, and we'll see some free throws coming on up. So Mumford goes to the line. He's got 8 points in the book. First one, no good. Team's leading scorer so far this year, and as we have mentioned, defense is really going to be what's going to help Middletown win some games this year. This one is well short. Ball chased down by Deshaun Krim, and here comes Fairfield up by 10. And defense setup. Singer gets a touch. Diagonal pass out to the side. It goes to the star of the ball game so far, and Zavian Ricks, who dribbles back up to the middle of the floor. Checked by Taiwan Hall. Dribbles into the lane. To the rack he goes! 22 in the book.
And again, I'm not taking anything away from Ricks. He's a great player. You can tell he's quick off the ball, but at some point you just can't let the man do what he's all done all night long and go right and dribble right to the rack and score.
So that's a long jumper for David Brown, 6-foot junior. They call it a three, and it's 39-30. Rebound put back, no good for Smith. The ball's loose on the floor. Middletown recovers, down by 9.
Yeah, big possession right here for the Middies. If they can get a bucket, start to feel like they're creeping their way back in here.
David Brown has it up high, and he threw it away. Intended for Rob Thompson, or actually it might have been Mumford there, but in any case, it's an unforced turnover. And the Indians will take over three-quarters court. So Ellis back into the ball game. He'll handle the ball. He'll get personalized pressure by Dalian Blake as he comes across half court. 39-30. Here's Ricks, who's been incredibly hot since intermission. He lost the handle.
Yeah, I just thought that he thought his man and Krim was going to come to the outside. He's going to hand it off to him, but Krim decided he was going to go back door and turned into a turnover.
Dalian Blake, and we got a hold off the ball. Looks like they're going to get Smith.
At some point here, I'm wondering if the Indians will start running a little more of that handoff and trying to take some of that clock with it. You know, I'm not saying that they're going to try to run a minute or 2 minutes off at a time, but certainly every time that you get 9 points in this game almost feels like, 15, 16 points.
Absolutely. Well, one thing we we saw plenty of a week ago, and we don't see so far, is the game-breaking three as a response. Here's a steal. Here's Fairfield up into the forecourt on a nice steal by Price. Plays Singer, returns to Price, penetrates to the rack. He goes, missed the shot. The rebound, the putback, no good, and it stays up front. Prop and Baker try to put it back, but it was tapped out by Middletown.
Rebounding's certainly been an issue so far for the Middies on the defensive end. And what it's done is it's led to a lot of extra possessions here for Fairfield. And anytime you give a team extra possessions on the offensive end, more often than not, they'll capitalize on it.
A long entry to Krim. Between the rings. Tries to back in on the elbow, plays Singer. Gives it on up. Here's an open three off the left wing. Knock it down. Zavian Ricks again. His third trifecta tonight, and a travel on the other end.
That would go under the unforced turnover category.
42-30.
Wheels have fallen off here for the Middies a little bit in this second half, certainly. But again, the one great thing about that arc is that it's an ultimate equalizer. You can get hot a little bit, hit a couple threes in a row. Next thing you know, you find yourself right back in this game. But it's going to have to start on this end of the floor for the Middies, the defensive end. And it's going to come with a defensive rebound here at some point.
Krim has it top of the key. Nowhere to go. Tries to set the screen. Got to give it up, and
yep, timeout. Great coaching job right there by Wyrick. Knew his guy was in trouble. Knew he had multiple timeouts left in this game and decided to use one right there just before the turnover.
Well, I will tell you this. We did get a chance to talk about Coach Wyrick a little bit ago, as you see on his screen, but do want to talk about Coach Hoskins. Darnell Hoskins could probably write a book about his college basketball life. This coach played guard collegiately at Wisconsin, had 3 different head coaches during his time there. Stu Jackson in 93-94, Stan Van Gundy, you know that name as an NBAer, 94-95, and Dick Bennett, the great coach there, 95-96. He led Wisconsin to a Final Four in 2000. And then Hoskins, what does he do? He transfers to UD, plays a senior year there under Oliver Purnell in 96-97. He led the Flyers in scoring with 14 a ball game and assists with just under 5 a ball game. And if you're just keeping score with us, right? 4 coaches, 2 schools. I don't know how you keep any of that straight.
Well, you got a lot of different philosophies you can lean back on, I'd assume, then, right?
Well, if nothing else, it sets you up for this situation and score on a whole bunch of different ways, or at least coach in different ways. The shot by Cropman-Baker's no good, and back comes Middletown with under 5 to play.
Yeah, I think if you're the Middies, the ball has to touch Mumford's hands every single time down the floor.
Thompson looking inside, looking for Mumford. Instead, elects to stay outside. Coming in was David Brown, and now back for Mumford. Inside the free throw line. Oh, nice wrap around, step around, shot put up no good, gets his own rebound, puts it back, and that shot's blocked. And he lost the ball after that. Picked up by Price.
Letting him play a little bit there on the inside. Certainly not getting any calls. But none might not have been warranted.
Here's Ellis.
Good pass.
High-low, and a nice finish, and one! Deshaun Krim with the answer, and he'll go to the line for an old-fashioned three-point try.
Yeah, great little flex cut right there. And as I mentioned before earlier in this game, if you just relax and look up, the Middies are giving you opportunities to hit open minutes, whether or not you can see them and make the appropriate pass at the right time. They did so just there. And at that point, almost feels like the dagger.
Well, and one thing that we kind of noticed here, of course, how about Ellis throwing something in on a scoring play?
Seems fitting.
45-30, a 15-point lead as we come up on the halfway mark of this fourth quarter. 3 ball on the near end, and Rob Thompson drains it.
That's one way to get back in the game. We'll see if they can't, again, get a little bit of a streak going here on the defensive end with a couple consecutive stops.
Krim running isolation. Now holds on to it and plays back to Ricks. The high water mark in scoring tonight at 25.
Got to force him to go left. Nope.
He goes right, and he draws the foul. It's a hold on Jordan Mumford.
Easier said than done, Jeff. I know I can stand up here and say you got to make him go left, but I mean, when I say make him go left, you get right on his hip, get on his left hip, and just literally force him to go left.
Ball's triggered in. Krim gets it. Well, hand it back off. So Ricks between the rings. Goes to Singer. Down the lane he goes, and the ball tapped out of bounds. Mumford batted it out, and a little pinball here on the baseline. 3:32 remaining here in this contest. 45-33. Ricks to toss in. Singer collects up high on the left. Checked by Taiwan Hall. Dribbles around him. Tosses it back outside. Ricks from the corner dribbles out. Here's a drive to the rack. Price with a deuce. 47-33.
If you're the Middies here, you got to go in a hurry, and you almost have to start using the arc to your advantage and trying to get some extra possessions back by hitting threes.
Mumford on the elbow, stuck high-low, and it's turned over. Intended down low for Will Williams, and with 3 to play, it's 47-33.
That it is, and I expect the faithful here, as they are, of the Middies to start heading out. They got
Krim into the front court, to the rack. No foul call. He missed the shot. And a man advantage here coming up for Middletown. Elbow jumper is short. Rebound put back by Mumford and one.
And if you're Coach Wyrick right there, you're probably a little upset that you didn't get the call down here on this end. I know that perhaps from a referee standpoint, you know where the game hangs in the balance a little bit, and you don't want to kind of rub it in. But I've always had this opinion, and I'll forever have this opinion, is you call the game the way it is. Doesn't matter the score, doesn't matter the time. If it's a foul, you call it. It's similar to perhaps maybe I'll get your opinion on this. Final Four game there with Virginia, 3 in the corner. Some guys swallow that whistle right there,
Right.
You say let them. You always hear let them play at the end, let them play. Well, if it's a foul, it's a foul, And I think that was a great call in the Virginia game. And the Middies, although it seems as if they're out of it, they're only down 11 with 2:46 here.
Well, you still got to play to the end, right? On a timeout charged to Middletown. So we see the Middletown huddle. And, Trace, let's see if we can diagnose something here and think about the remaining minutes here. If you're Coach Hoskins, what are you telling your troops right now?
Well, I think that most people start talking about when it comes to a comeback, it's the offensive side of the ball that comes to most people's head. In my opinion, it has to be the defensive side. You've scored some points here in the second half to give yourself a chance to get in this game, but you have not been able to control your defensive side. Can you force some turnovers? And if you can force some turnovers, then perhaps those will lead into a couple easy lay-ins. The next thing you know, you find yourself right back in this game. But, I think that you're going to start seeing some full court pressure by the Middies. And another thing, too, that doesn't get talked about sometimes is perhaps trying to foul anybody that's not named Ricks, I think that might be a decent game plan and extend that 2:46 as long as you can. I, myself, huge college basketball fan. I don't think anyone in the country does a better job of that than Bill Self. Bill Self's philosophy in these situations right now is full court press. If it gets in the front court, past half court, you foul immediately, and you just try to extend this game as long as you can.
Bears mentioning the leading scorer in this ballgame is Ricks. Ricks came in as the 4th leading scorer in the GMC so far this season at 21.3. The guys in front of them, we saw the leader, Nate Johnson, with 30 a ball game. He's number 1. We saw him last week. Oh, here's Ellis right to the rack.
Yeah, that's kind of what I'm talking about, Jeff, right there. I mean, you can talk about a comeback all you want, but if that's the pressure that you're going to receive coming out of a timeout, chances of a comeback are slim to none, and Slim pretty much left town.
Williams handles and plays to Shaley, curls into the lane, takes it to the rack, and one!
Well, just as soon as you think Fairfield run away with it, the Middies find a way to score on this offensive end, and they've done that time and time again here towards the end of this game. Can they find a way to get some turnovers here after the free throw?
Price guilty of his 3rd. 49-38, the current score, awaiting the free throw here by Shaley. Good. 10-point ball game, and now full court pressure.
Backside, got
Smith,
him wide open.
Oh, up ahead. Place it in the forecourt for Krim. Stuck on the sideline, and now a diagonal pass back out. High-low from Ricks, down low. Ellis completes to make it 51-39.
Ellis, big body inside right there with a pretty good post move. Tell you what, they get behind them pads sometimes, Jeff. You don't realize how big and strong they are.
So nothing doing for Middletown this time down the court. Here's Smith down, low on the right. They let him play, and it's turned over.
They let him play.
3-2. And to the well he goes, Taiwan Hall. And we got timeout charged to Middletown.
Yeah, and I'm sure Coach Wyrick's going to tell Cortland Smith, hey, listen, I like the aggressiveness, but at the end of the day, we got a lead here. Know the time, know the score. And there's really no need to be aggressive from the offensive end for Fairfield. Just let Ricks hold on to it out there and let him get fouled and go to the line and add some more to the total that he already has tonight.
We had mentioned the leading scorers in the league. We mentioned Nate Johnson's name, who we saw last Friday. 30 a ball game. Julian Mackey, who we have obviously yet to see for Lakota West, averaging 23.5, so 23.5 points a ball game for Mackey. Trey Robinson over at Hamilton with 23 a contest. We've seen Ricks tonight at 21.3 coming in. That'll go up with his 25 so far tonight. And Isaiah Myers over at Coleraine with 16 a contest. So we've got some early season scoring around the league and some big numbers. And, of course, I think, even though it's so early in the season, it's hard to imagine that we'll see a better individual show than what Nate Johnson did here just last week.
No, and I think that's one of those things where, you get to go and watch multiple teams play, and over the course of the season, we'll probably fall in love with some other guys. But so far for me, for sure, this early season, man, that guy's he's a player. And he's find multiple ways to score the basketball, too. He does drive. He can shoot the open three. And Ricks, very impressed with the way he can drive the basketball. My only thing at this point, which to his credit hasn't been proven that he can't do it, is can he drive left and have the same effectiveness?
Right.
I don't know that yet. So the Middies haven't really shown us whether he can or can't, and I don't think they're going to get a chance to show us before this game's over regardless.
Smith draws the double, gets it away. Ricks tries to dribble it up, throws it up front, and it's Ellis. Plays it back to Caleb Price. Will hand it on off.
Yeah, and I mean, a situation there where you got a kid that's don't know his free throw percentage. I'm not sure what Caleb Price's free throw percentage is, but I can promise you it's not as good as Zavian Ricks. And they do have some fouls to give, but anytime anybody but number one get the ball right now, you got to foul.
By the way, Caleb Price came into the ball game batting 1,000, 2 for 2 at the charity stripe this year.
Yeah, you got to get the ball out of his hands. You got to double team him and make him give it up. Now foul.
Ellis plays Price, puts it on the floor, and gives back to Ellis. Rolls around the screen and plays back to Price. They're content to run clock with under a minute to play. No foul on the hand check there. No reaching, and then the ball's loose. It's picked away, and we have a tie-up as Taiwan Hall picked it away, and Ellis tied him up.
Yeah, Fairfield's going to retain with the possession. So although, yes, it did work out in your favor to get a jump ball, ultimately it's, you still didn't obtain it. And I just think that there's not a right or wrong way. You're down by 10 with 1:13 left. Let's be honest, there's not a whole lot of ways you can win, but I just assumed that perhaps they were going to foul a little earlier than they have here. But I'm not sure it matters what they do.
Ball will be thrown in by Zavian Ricks. Looks underneath the hoop for Smith and tosses it back on the outside. Yeah, no foul calling here. Grimm has it up high on the right point. Still not fouled.
Yeah.
Kind of surprising here to not at least hear a whistle on this. Ricks dribbles out high to the right point. Did he lose it on the sideline? He did. With 26.7 seconds left to play here in this contest.
Two options here. You run down there and get a quick as two as possible, or you got to start utilizing the three ball, and you're down 4 possessions.
Toss in, Rob Thompson between the rings. Don't really need to dribble. He puts it on the floor. Down the lane. He missed it. Rebound. Put back and a foul.
Yeah, Colin Singer there again. Last thing you want to do is foul him and give him a chance to get extra points. 18.8 though. I think it's pretty safe to say that they've won the basketball game, but still it's a situation where you want to build good habits, and the last thing you want to ever do is make a foul in that situation. But moving forward, I think it's safe to say that Coach Wyrick's kind of got the ship headed in the direction that he wants.
Right. Well, it's been a struggle. As the bonus no good. Rebound Shaley, and we've got a tie-up underneath.
Yeah, and this one should go towards the Middies.
So since Coach Hoskins came aboard, the Middies have yet to win more than 8 games in a season. So this right now, especially when we see the kind of defense that they've been able to play, they just need to find another score to see if they can complement and win some closer games.
Yeah, I think that's a good assessment of the Middies. The question is where does that come from? So far tonight, it was a little bit of a struggle on the offensive end, but I do think that perhaps they need to find a way to utilize the pressure that they've had tonight, and they forced some turnovers. How do you transition that from not only taking the ball away, but then being able to utilize that to your advantage on a fast break and scoring the ball at the other end? I think that's a question that Hoskins and their crew are going to have to
Here's a catch release three, no good. Rebound. Here's the putback off the right side, and good. And another timeout. David Brown gets the bucket with 8.4 seconds left to play.
Yeah, a situation here where, like, that's what I meant before. It's kind of like a little curious as to, trying to extend the game. We talked about trying to extend the game. You're down 6,
It's still a game.
It's still a game. And if you can add on maybe the 15, 20 seconds that perhaps you let run off earlier, you're starting to look at this a little differently. Now, I've seen crazier stuff happen in sports, but I will tell you right now that the odds aren't looking too great for the Middies. And I tell you, it's just wild to think of the Middletown Middies not having more than 8 wins in quite some time with the history and just the storied program that they are.
Well, as we take a look at Fairfield, as they're drawing it up with Coach Wyrick, one of the things that came to mind and just thinking about what they might do here in the remaining seconds, when you see full court pressure, maybe get your best trigger man in the backcourt and throw the home run ball and let him dribble out.
Yeah, that's a great question or a great point, Jeff. What I would say, too, the other kind of point I would make to you is if you're up by 6, and now this is very controversial take to a certain extent, I actually think tossing the ball in the lane is not a bad idea because what happens is if you do turn it over, it's going to take probably 3 to 4 seconds to even get your wits about you to turn around, and you're going to have to hit 2 threes, right? So there's not enough time, in my opinion, to be able to get 3 baskets.
Right.
In 8 seconds.
So how about a high bounce off the floor?
Or that.
Yeah.
There's a lot of different angles you can take, but I think that oftentimes the home run ball is okay, but my argument to that would be is if they accidentally sail it over there, don't give Middies the ball back with no time running off. But
Singer throws in, and we've got a foul.
That's all for naught because Singer's going to go to the line and add to the total. Or I should say Ricks. Ricks will add to the total tonight. And, man, his stroke from the line is something that they should make tapes out of.
Well, we live in the day and age where free throw shooting isn't well regarded unless you're Stephon Curry in the NBA, right?
Yeah.
So you're right. He has put on so far a clinic. And as soon as we say that, he misses. But Smith recovers.
Yeah, and that'll do it.
And that will do it. As we come down to 4 seconds, they'll concede. Middletown will. And this game has come to a close. Your score here in Fairfield, the final, as the Indians improved to 3-1 on the season. They win it over the Middletown Middies, who fall to 1-2 by a score of 51-45. Trace and I will come back and wrap this one up. Here, it's the game of the week here on Chatterbox Live. Back to wrap this one up here. Along with Trace Fowler, I'm Geoff Kim. Thanks for joining us here on Chatterbox Live, the game of the week. And, well, this one turned out to be a closer game than we expected, especially down the stretch, given the way that young Mr. Ricks was shooting the lights out in the third quarter. He collected 14 of his game-high 25 in the third, and Fairfield goes away a winner for 51-45 tonight.
Yeah, and that was the separation, right? We were talking about earlier in this game which team's going to make that run and kind of separate themselves. And really it wasn't so much the team as much as it was just Ricks just kind of finding ways to put the ball in the basket, whether it be driving or shooting the three. And, I walk away tonight thinking that perhaps we've seen a little bit of a sloppy contest, but ultimately, perhaps that's the way that Fairfield kind of wanted to make this game. The Middies, I don't know. They're going to have to find ways in which they can score the basketball, and I'm sure that Coach Hoskins, I should say, will go to the drawing board and try to figure that out.
Let's give you some scoring here in this ballgame. Jaden Jackson for Middletown had 6 points. 5 points for David Brown, 6 for Tywan Hall, 5 for Kelvin Shaley, a team high 11 points for Jordan Mumford. Rob Thomas had 8 points, and then 4 points to wrap up the scoring for Middletown here in this ball game. As we do kind of some quick numbers from my own personalized scorebook here. Sawai Ellis had 4 points in this book. A game high 25 for Zavian Ricks. 3 points for Colin Singer. 5 for Caleb Price. 8 points for Deshaun Krim. And 6 to wrap up the scoring for Cortland Smith. 51-45. Obviously the star of the game has got to be Ricks.
Yeah, without question. I think that even if you watch the game and you didn't know who scored the most points, he's the one that's going to stick out to you the most, in my opinion. Hillman, I think Mumford, too, handled his own from the Middies' perspective. But, we'll see how this portrays throughout the season. I think that there will be tape. You'll get scouting reports on guys, and I ultimately think after watching this game tonight, when it comes to Ricks, can anybody decide to try to utilize his left hand and make him go left and force him to score in multiple ways other than just driving right and putting the ball in the basket?
Yeah, that right lane line, no matter which side of the floor it was gold tonight for Ricks. And then once he established that, the three ball came alive. And, keep in mind that he got all 6 of his first half points at the charity stripe and then 19 in the second half.
Yeah, and he's incredible from the line. I know that we jinxed him there at the end.
Yes,
but
we did.
We're talking about a guy that, shooting 85+% from the line. And any time that you can find ways to get to the line from a scoring perspective, it kind of helps you settle in. Anytime when you're a scorer and you see the ball start to go through the basket, it kind of helps give you some confidence. And I think that's what happened for him tonight there at the beginning. Perhaps, a couple of them dribble drives didn't go his way, but he ended up getting to the line, and that third quarter was something to behold.
I did want to make mention of this as we start to wrap things up here from Fairfield. Want to make mention that, in the last game that we saw, while the offense did come alive a little earlier, we saw Lakota East, kind of step up its game late in the first quarter, and they carried momentum all the way towards the end of the ballgame with their win there. We never really saw offensive momentum tonight.
No, it was a little bit of it. Like I said, I don't mean to make it sound as if it was a bad basketball game, but it was sloppy. And anytime you get into a contest where it turns sloppy and you have two teams that are playing, tough defense, and the Middies especially trying to play, half-court traps, it can become one of two things. One side's going to figure it out before the other, and it becomes a little bit of a blowout. And I think we got to that point to a certain extent, but give the Middies credit. They started making some baskets on their end to keep this thing close. But, again, can the Middies find a way to play defense that translates to offense for them? And I think that as we move on to the season, that's the question I have for the guys in purple. And, for the guys in red and the Indians, it's can you sustain what you've done so far when you get into some league play and against maybe some tougher competition.
And something that Reed Mouse had pointed out, on chatterbox.com, chatterboxsports.com. Beg your pardon.
No, that's okay.
Is that right now just, and part of it is young Mr. Johnson out there, but the belief is right now Lakota East seems to have something going, at least in the early part of the season, and everybody else is going to be looking up to them as we progress towards the holiday break.
Yeah, long season. I mean, I would say that. And obviously, when you watch East play the other night, you would think that perhaps they're the farthest along. But I watched East play, a couple nights before they played Princeton, and my goodness, it was something similar to this, where it was just really messy, and they end up beating the Bombers of St. Xavier that night. But you got to find ways to win maybe multiple different styles of games, and tonight the Indians kind of, I think, persevered and found their way to a victory in which they would probably tell you they didn't play that well in the first half especially. Second half might be a little different.
We see DJ Wyrick talking with Fairfield's radio crew at the very bottom of your screen. Now, he replaced Jeff Sims, who was 27-44 in his last 3 years there. Fairfield improves to a record of 3-1 here, so it's an awfully good start here for the Indians coming into this season.
Yeah, and I think that they you look at last year and maybe the success or unsuccess that they didn't have. Question is whether or not they can sustain it, and that's really the question that I have for them. As I've said that once, I'll say it 1,000 times. Is you get into league play, it becomes where people know you. They know your tendencies. It becomes tougher to do the things that you've always done, and I'm not suggesting that number will come down from Rick's end, but I do think that he's going to have to find ways in which he's going to have to score the ball a different way. But I'll say this, and I'll say it with a lot of confidence for him. It's one thing saying you're going to stop a guy from driving right. It's a whole other thing to actually do it. And he is quick, and he might find ways to where he looks like he's going left, but then, boom, he's back to right. And we'll see. He might have success doing that all year long, and I'll sit here and talk about how guys need to make him go left all year long.
Absolutely. So. He put on a show tonight. Final thoughts on this one as we put a wrapper to it.
No, just good start to the basketball season on our end. We're starting to kind of mingle into finding our ways into different gyms and different teams. And tonight perhaps might not have been the prettiest basketball game, but, hey, it's still basketball at the end of the day.
Absolutely. Thanks, partner. We'll see you next week.
That's right.
And be sure to log on to chatterboxsports.com for the game that will be at next Tuesday, whether it's in the GMC or anywhere else here in Butler County. Again, the final 51-45, the Indians win it, improving to 2-1. Beg your pardon, 3-1. The Middies fall to 1-2. For Trace Fowler and I'm Geoff Kim, and for the rest of our crew, George Harmon, Jacob Harmon, and Ron Fowler, good night from Fairfield.